My name is Mimi Morgan. I'm 70 years old. I'll be 71 in September. And in my late 50s, my health started to fail. It first started with rheumatoid arthritis, Dupuytren's disease, and about 2 years after those diagnoses and being treated with a number of medications, I developed neurological symptoms and was soon diagnosed with Parkinsonism, and that followed with a number of other neurological disorders. My health failed pretty rapidly, and was soon became a multiple system atrophy suspect, and that is a more advanced form of Parkinson's where it affects your autonomic symptoms. I had cognitive, wasn't officially um, diagnosed as a cognitive, failure, but I had enough of executive function and cognitive disorders to where I had to stop work. I had trouble just processing and completing day-to-day tasks. I also had dystonia, which is where your limbs seize up. For me, it was the limb. You can have dystonia actually throughout your whole body. Neurogenic bladder, and a lot of other autonomic symptoms. I was diagnosed by three of the top Parkinson's centers in the United States, and you are seen with a full team of doctors. They have more training than typical neurologists. I mean, state of the art where they measure your gait, and they all came to the same conclusion. And I was put on carbidopa, levodopa, which is the gold standard medication, to try to manage symptoms. There is no cure. There is no known medical treatment for it. After my diagnosis of the Parkinson's, my health continued to fail. Following that, I had a medium stroke and was infected with MRSA while I was at the hospital through the IV. My health really deteriorated rapidly. I was given less than a 40% chance of surviving. I'm pretty active and left with a walker. And I really was at my last I had no hope. I really didn't know what to do, and I ended up having an epiphany. And soon after that, realized that I needed help, and saw a gentleman across the street. It was a weight loss clinic because I had put on now. I've always been lean, but I put on a little bit of weight, and because the infections of MRSA spread to my spine. Um, I knew I needed to take off the weight just to help relieve the pain in the back. That really was my intention, and that led me to discover really metabolic therapy. I was on a high plant-based diet, very low fat. I've been that way for most of my life, and he proceeded to tell me that I needed to change and eat 50% fat, 25% protein. I was a good eater, so whatever carbs I ate, 95, that doesn't mean I didn't, have sweets or some gluten or something like that, but 95% of my eating was really good food. It was just very high plant-based. And he proceeded to tell me that fat was what I needed to do to heal. And I really thought he was insane. It went contrary to everything that I've ever heard. I avoided fat my whole life, and I couldn't imagine how this could possibly help me. Not to mention that I was discouraged from eating fat and protein, being on carbidopa, levodopa. It competes with it in the stomach, and I said to him, my medicine's not going to work. And at this point, I'm on 1,200 milligrams of carbidopa, levodopa. That is an enormous amount for how many years had the disease. That meant that I was taking pills every 3.5 to 4 hours just to function from 5 o'clock in the morning until right before bed. So I restricted my protein and what little fat, which was very minimal, at nighttime when I was home, where nobody could see my symptoms, where it didn't matter if my medicine worked as well. So it was a huge risk for me to do, but I really had no place to turn at this point. I had no idea that it would lead me to a life of healing. I mean, I went to lose, 25 plus pounds, and instead my whole life changed by, him wanting me to essentially go into ketosis. And it took about 6 to 9 months. I'll say at that point, I wasn't feeling worse, and I had been month by month. I started to have some improvement in my rheumatoid arthritis because we eliminated nightshades, all glutens, things that would aggravate the arthritis. I also had osteoarthritis. So I started to feel pretty well at that point, treating those illnesses. Never could I have imagined that my neuro symptoms would be improved. That took 6 to 9 months, when I found myself not needing to take my medication every 3.5, 4 hours. But about that 9 months, I found I don't need to take my medication. And actually, it was at that point that a light bulb went off in my head that my diet was having an effect. So not only the symptoms of a slight tremor, my balance, which was another one that I had, cogwheel rigidity, moving slow. Um, there's a lot of pain that comes with that. My thinking was clearer. My mood was more elevated. It was better. People with Parkinson's and Parkinsonism, like illnesses, obviously we have low dopamine levels. It affects our ability to experience pleasure. For instance, I like to paint. So painting gives me pleasure. When something gives you pleasure, you have sort of an imprint on you that you want to do it again. People with Parkinson's don't have that imprint, so they have to start again. So I can paint and have a great day painting, and the next day, I don't have that imprint, I don't have that desire to paint. It's like it's washed away. It's not, we can have depression, and I had extensive 5-hour testing. I was not depressed, but I clearly didn't have that imprint, so I almost had to just start again and decide to do it. I'd eventually experience the pleasure, um, but I would have to make myself do it, I wouldn't have a memory of it. Um, and, that's pretty hard because that makes your world smaller when you don't have that natural response. So for me now, I'm starting to find pleasure in things, and and I gotten to the point where, for my cognitive issues, that I rarely drove farther than 3 to 5 miles of a route I'd experienced. I didn't do a whole lot of new things because it was hard and confusing. I gave up, cooking holiday meals, and I'm an accomplished cook, and I had trouble doing simple math, and I was a math minor and should have been a major because I was a whiz at math. Now all of a sudden, I'm able to do things that I couldn't, and I ran with it and went took my fat up to 70 to 80% on a daily basis. And I really started to really improve, started to take my medication less and less. It took me, almost a year and a half, and I stayed faithfully to it, so um, I did not break it with any cheat of anything that could affect. I stayed with a diet of very high beef, high fat, uh, because the results were so great. I just wanted to keep going, and I was pretty sick. I mean, I was headed for a home because it was really becoming difficult for me to care for myself in a lot of ways. And it took me, which I'm not recommending anybody does, but I had to choose my own path, and it took me a year and a half, very slowly reducing my medication to 0 from 1,200 milligrams, and 1,800 is pretty max for somebody, um, dealing with the issues I had. Neurogenic bladder was another issue, and that went into remission. All my Parkinson ism symptoms went into remissions, including I had a voice tremor. I mean, I had probably a dozen side issues with this that all went into remission. The only lasting thing that I had that I'm still very careful about, I haven't had an issue in a year and a half, was the return of a limb dystonia. So I'm probably 4 years, 3 years to 4 years free of medication, 3 years free of symptoms, a year and a half of not having a few mild dystonia symptoms. Every day of my life, every decision I make, is this what's best for my health? If I don't have my health, I don't have anything else, and everything I do affects my health. So it really is putting my health and what's best for me as my number one priority, and I make countless decisions a day to address that. And I really have to stay faithful to it. And after time, it just becomes, well, this is just how I live.